You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You're listening to Mission Log the Orville, an episode-by-episode discussion of the adventures of the crew of the USS Orville. Welcome to another episode of Mission Log the Orville. This week, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow.
Wait,
the one where Kelly, the one where Kelly gets to know herself a little bit better, and Ed's looking for a second chance at love. We'll discuss the meanings, morals, and messages to see if this episode aligns with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy. My name is Mike Richards.
And I am Jessica Lynn Verdi from 7 years ago, I think.
Heck yeah, you are.
Mission Log the Orville is a conversation that depends on your participation. Please share your thoughts, your ideas, and tell us what we missed at ML_the Orville on Twitter. You could find us on Facebook at Mission Log Pod, or you can even email us at missionlog-theorville@roddenberry.com. If you're watching this on the Roddenberry YouTube channel, hit like and subscribe. And remember, we just might use your comments in an upcoming episode. All right, Mike, you ready to do this recap?
I am ready for the recap.
Let's do it.
Prologue. The gang is talking about old times. It seems Kelly used to be a bit of a partier, and she would drag Ed along with her, totally against his will. He misses those times, even though they don't seem like that long ago. And by the way, trying again with Kelly is not off the table. Sadly, Kelly still thinks that a captain and first officer should not be involved. The next morning, Isaac and John are standing on the shoulders of Dr. Aronoff, an expert in temporal physics. Their work can be used to link a temporal field to the neurological pathway of a biological or artificial life form. Bottom line, we could travel through time as easily as we travel through space. At Kelly's request, John is off to tech the routine tech as the Orville passes through a gravitational wave. With that, Kelly's off to the bridge as Isaac notices an apparently younger Kelly asking, "Where am I?"
Oof.
Act 1. As we return from abbreviated opening credits, Isaac is confused at the appearance of Kelly. She's wearing different clothing and sporting a different do. Notifying the bridge that he believes Commander Grayson is unwell, Isaac is told that Kelly is on the bridge, leading Isaac to conclude that there's an intruder on the Orville. In sickbay, Dr. Finn identifies the intruder as Kelly Grayson, the Kelly Grayson, albeit approximately 7 years younger. The two Kellys come face to face, both taken aback by the appearance of the other. In the conference room, John and Isaac hypothesize that the gravitational wave amplified the temporal field generated by Dr. Aronoff's device. In this case, the spike in field energy made it possible for Commander Grayson to transport her past self into the present. But if that's true, shouldn't Kelly remember this? And if her past self was transported here, why is Kelly there at all? The shorter answer is that nobody really knows. Time travel is new, and they just don't have any experience with it. Well, the two Kellys agree on one thing. They both need a drink. Later, Ed and Kelly debate how much they should let, we'll call her past Kelly, know about her future. Should they lock her in a room and not tell her anything? Well, Ed's philosophy is, when in doubt, tell the truth. And they tell past Kelly everything. The marriage, the neglect, the infidelity, the divorce, Ed's captaincy, Kelly's first officercy. She's shook, but she doesn't really know if she's okay or not. Present Kelly offers past Kelly access to her personal logs so she can get caught up on the past 7 years. Act 2. With John and Isaac still struggling, the crew encourages past Kelly to embrace her new life. She can go back to Earth and choose her own Union posting. Of course, Admiral Halsey would be willing to help, but past Kelly needs time to think. Sharing her thoughts with Tala, past Kelly had 3 goals in her life: to fall in love, to be the captain of her own ship, and to help make the galaxy a better place. Tala tells past Kelly that she can still do all of these things. So, donning a science division uniform, Lieutenant Kelly Grayson is off to the mess hall to yuck it up with Tala, Gordon, and John. Present Kelly, overhearing her younger self regale the gang with stories from Union Point, asks her for a sidebar and explains that those people are under her command. She has to keep a certain professional distance. Stories like that will compromise her ability to lead. Past Kelly understands, kind of. And as the two converse, Past Kelly asks if she could be posted to the Orville. Present Kelly seems somewhat concerned, but welcomes Past Kelly as a member of the crew. On to Ed's quarters, where Gordon and Ed are playing a video game. Well, Gordon's playing anyway, and Past Kelly asks Ed for a second date. Wait, what? Before we get an answer to that question, Ed talks to Present Kelly to get her blessing. Present Kelly's weirded out but she's listening to Ed explain, and he says that many times human beings have wished they could go back in time and change the past. Well, this is a real-life opportunity. His job consumed him when they were together, and he drove Kelly out of his life, and he regretted it ever since. Furthermore, if Present Kelly is willing to try one more time, he would never even consider it. Present Kelly says she can't do that, but she can't tell him not to date Past Kelly either. She does warn him that she was a lot different back then, and that he's a lot different now than he was 7 years ago. Act 3. In Muska's, Ed's getting Past Kelly caught up on things with the Kalon and what he and Present Kelly have been up to. Oh, God, sorry about that. It's like old times for Ed and present times for Past Kelly. Overall, the date went well, and they'll do it again. The next morning, Present Kelly tells Past Kelly that she has reservations about her and Ed. She doesn't think it's a good idea. They were both devastated when it ended, and Present Kelly doesn't want to see anybody get hurt. Past Kelly says she may have found her soulmate, and Present Kelly said, you don't find soulmates, you become soulmates by growing together. All right, Past Kelly has had enough of Present Kelly, and she lays it all out. You're not married, you're not a captain, and you maintain a distance from your crew. There were 3 things she wanted in life, and Present Kelly hasn't come close to one. Well, I guess making the galaxy a better place is off the table for now. Present Kelly has made Past Kelly's future a disappointment. Act 4. Present Kelly's pissed. Ed knows she's pissed because she says everything's fine. Borda sees 2 Kalon ships, and Ed orders Gordon to alter course and engage the quantum drive. Looks like that worked for now, giving Ed and Gordon time for a little relationship talk. Gordon thinks Ed's relationship with Past Kelly is a bad idea, but Ed thinks it'll be different this time. This conversation is interrupted by Past Kelly inviting the gang to one of her favorite places on Earth, in the simulator, of course. Sounds nice. Maybe the Grand Canyon, Yosemite, the pyramids. Nope. It's a nightclub, and it's just possible that Ed and Gordon are a little too old to be there. Although Bordens and Clyden seem to be loving it. And hey, is that Yaphet? Watching the scene unfold, Gordon asks Ed, is this what you really want? I don't think he does. Act 5. Present Kelly is trying to come to terms with her younger, more naive, dare I say dumber self, and Claire tells Present Kelly she should be proud of herself. She's smart and powerful, she's a kind and generous friend, and she's the commander of a Union ship. Although not a captain, goals change, and it's important to stop every once in a while and reassess what it is that you really want. In Ed's quarters, Past Kelly shows up wearing something she replicated from home. Ed says, yeah, Kelly wore that on our first anniversary. Oh my God, how dumb is this guy? Ed recovers, barely, and it's go time. When Ed realizes that this feels a little messed up, that he still loves Present Kelly, Past Kelly is a little confused, but Ed is saved by some Kalon ships that have never come at a better time. So he's off to the bridge as we pan down to Ed's communicator and a cocktail glass with some ice in it. On the bridge, the crew is deciding how to deal with the Kalon when Past Kelly suggests ice. They're near a planet with rings made out of ice, and it's possible they can hide there and avoid detection. The plan works, and the experience allows the 2 Kellys to gain mutual respect for each other, just as Isaac and John enter with good news. They think they can send Past Kelly back to her own time. It'll take a lot of power, but the ship can handle it. Probably. Dr. Finn will perform a memory wipe on Past Kelly to prevent her from having any knowledge of the future. Past Kelly knows it'll work because it already worked. That's why Present Kelly doesn't have any memory of what's happened. Before Dr. Finn begins, Ed apologizes to past Kelly for the next 5 years, for the absence, for the neglect, for all of it. He wishes he could undo it all. With the memory wipe complete, it's time to maximize the quantum field and increase the graviton level. Using the ship's power and overloading nearly all of its systems, Ed orders John to shut it down. However, it looks like it worked. Past Kelly is back in her apartment, just in time for Ed's cool guy phone call, asking Kelly to go on a second date. Sadly, Past Kelly declines. She just doesn't see it working out. The end.
Oh, Mike, what an excellent job you've done.
Well,
now, do you want to go
thank
back
you.
in time and redo that though? Like, no,
if I could, I would. It was one of those ones that I went back through 3 or 4 times, trying to shorten it and just kind of let it roll with it. And I'm also glad we didn't try to combine this week's episode and next week's episode, because there would have been so much to talk about, so much recap.
There's 2 different things going on
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yes.
it makes sense that we didn't. Let's put it
2
that way.
very different episodes, even though they're linked quite closely. I think they have very different vibes, and we'll get to that much later. But I love your new digs. I am still
Yes.
living in my squalor, and you have moved up to the east side.
Yes, I now play grand pianos only, and I only take the plastic off the furniture when my friends arrive. So,
Excellent.
yeah, no, we just have a green screen, so I thought, why not throw it up?
Why not?
Why not? So tell us what's the dates of this ep?
Well, we got this one was written by Janet Lynn. Janet is a co-executive producer. She has a long list of writing and producing credits, but this was her first writing credit on the Orville. It was directed by Gary Rake. He was first assistant director on 16 episodes so far, so 16 of the 25 or so that we've had up till this point.
Wow.
And he'll be back to direct next week's episode, The Road Not Taken. Music this week was by John Debney. Very mysterious score. It reminded me in several cases of an Star Trek The Original Series episode. Kind of that light, wispy, mysterious tone to it.
Sure.
And the only guest stars we had on the show were recurring guest stars. Chad Coleman as Clyden, Will Sasso as Muska, and Norm MacDonald as Yaphet. It aired on April 18th, 2019, and I couldn't help. I mean, we talk about some similarities to the Next Gen episode, Second Chances, season 6, episode 8, I believe, where a duplicate William Thomas Riker was recovered after a transporter accident.
So I only know about that episode because they talk about it in Lower Decks when Boimler also gets split up.
Yep.
That's really funny. And yes, it did have a lot of TOS. I can see why John Debney may go in the lane of TOS music, because it, as Kelly is surrounding other Kelly, it also looks like, Captain Kirk surrounding other Captain Kirk. It had that same theatrical blocking, I should say.
It sure did. So, fun episode. And I'm going to ask you this. I probably should have, I wish I could go back in time and ask you this question 20 years ago or so, but how soon is too soon to call? Because I think there were times where I was the 9 a.m. the next morning guy.
This is not the answer you're looking for. If it's actually like a meant to be relationship, then there is no too soon. There are some guys that for guys in my case, that can elongate the courting process that will eventually end if they hold out for a couple days.
Right.
So by day 3, I'm like, what the heck is
over
going
it?
On? It's almost annoying, but at the same time, they know that I'll be like, "Hi, welcome," So I think, yes, it's not. Sometimes even after our first date, I like a text like, "That was fun,"
Yeah.
So I think when you've met a good match, the less you have to debate about when and how and what you should say.
Could not agree more. So I will retract my desire to go back in time and redo those things because I think I did the right thing.
It worked out. It worked out for the best, I think.
So you and I had a conversation a while back on one of our episodes about when things are all balled up in the either in a I think this was Firestorm, that episode.
Okay.
The Alara Catan environmental simulator holodeck episode. And you were chatting about in the the improvised generation, when things got really, really messed up, somebody would be like, computer end program.
I'm awake now. I mean, we had to stop it at a certain point, but yes. So yeah, we did talk about that.
So it could either be a dream sequence or a holodeck out.
And Seth is no stranger to waking up and it's a dream, because he even did that in a Family Guy episode where two characters from a 90s soap opera wake up and go, I dreamed that Stewie was and then the man who's like fresh out of the shower. And again, like I looked at the TV show, I just don't remember it right now. It's like Dynasty adjacent or something like that. It might even be Dynasty. And they look at the camera and go, who's Stewie? What's Family Guy? So like it's very, Bob Newhart, like, honey,
sure,
go back to sleep.
Yep, there was that. And I think Dallas was ended on a dream.
Dallas, that was the answer.
Yeah.
That was Dallas.
Got it.
Not Dynasty. Dynasty is a whole different thing where they fight and, ladies are mad at each other.
Yeah, so, there's a little bit of, I notice more and more people pronounce O-U-R as if it is just the letter R.
R.
Yeah.
Our thing? Are you going to go to our thing later?
Like, our kids are in school.
Our kids are
something
in
like that.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. R. Which normally it's not a big deal, except when there's a line delivered like, her DNA contains the same molecular degradations as R. Kelly.
That's
the only difference is she's 7 years younger. And I was just like,
we're gonna take a step back from that and just let that mire. We're gonna let that one We're gonna let that one sit in the proofing jar. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't even deliver that without laughing.
I don't think we can even laugh at it. It's a very nuanced point you're making.
Sure.
But yes, there's a little bit of an uncanny valley thing going on too with Kelly, and they've made her younger. This is like a makeup technique. I don't know.
Sure. I noticed the difference in the makeup technique, and obviously the wig, but the makeup was the big difference. I think that made her look younger.
And it made a difference because they did this with Jessica Lange in American Horror Story, and it was like a big deal, and it cost a lot of money, and so I don't know how much they spent. But again, someone get a hold of the wig department. What's going on? We need better wigs. There are better wigs out there. And that's just my feeling.
I would think so. And in fact, they was a wig necessary at all? Like it probably was the quickest option to cut from one scene to another. Or to cut from past, present to present Kelly. Yeah,
and so that we're also not like confused probably.
Yeah.
And ultimately, and I've talked about this before when I've complained about the wigs, if we're worried about the wigs, we're not enjoying the show for what it is, and I'm not worried about the wigs, but it definitely could be better.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, ugh, and then it quickly went out of my mind because I got wrapped up in the story. But yeah, there's got to be a better answer than that. So
this episode is so rife with actual funnies that worked so well. They're just getting better and better at this.
It was. I really liked the conversation where Ed decides, when in doubt, tell the truth. So they sit past Kelly down and tell her about the marriage and the neglect and the working too hard and the commute and the infidelity and the divorce and the captaincy, and then Kelly working there too. And I was caught up in the line where they said, she goes, who cheated on whom? And they're like, it's complicated. There's a lot there. And then we found out the Retepsian was in heat. So to answer our question from Cupid's dagger, the Retepsian was in heat.
I think I knew you were going to bring this up. I still hold true that they decided that was the case.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. Cause I think Rob Lowe was letting, I think Derulio was letting them off the hook.
But it was a perfect Rob Lowe delivery, though. It really was.
Maybe. Yep.
And maybe, yeah, no, it was so good. And so I think that for their purposes, it was easier to decide that he wasn't Heat. Could you imagine being 7 years younger Kelly and hearing Retepsian? I'm sure they're sexy, but she's getting bombarded with so many things.
So many things.
How would you handle this?
Me? Oh, I would probably. Well, one, I think. Not only would I hate younger Mike, but I think younger Mike would probably be just as disappointed as I am. And maybe not just from 7 years ago, because that's a pretty small percentage of my life at this point, sadly. But say, I think it's tough. I mean, I think when you're young and idealistic and, full of hopes and dreams and haven't, had maybe your first big heartbreak yet, and you haven't had your first big setback yet, whether that be professionally or otherwise, I think it is very, very easy to be judgy and to be dismissive of people that have taken some hard knocks and have sort of reevaluated things and trimmed their sails a little bit.
Right.
So I think the way that past Kelly treated present Kelly was very, I think, typical of how a younger person would look at sort of where they ended up. And it's not unlike a relationship between a son and his father, or I'm not sure. I could only imagine between a mother, a daughter and mother. But I think those same elements are there.
Yeah, I think, now I'm realizing I should have asked this question in the messages, morals, and meanings section. There's a lot to this episode, but I do think 7 younger years Kelly is also, coping less well.
Sure.
So a couple of things I particularly loved are mostly Seth's deliveries of a few things. When he loses in the video game to Gordon, and he goes, "Oh my God!" He's just so when he's done that delivery a couple times. Oh my God, he's just so over it.
That was so good. I'm literally doing what you're telling me to do.
And he's just can't I think he I don't know. It's the classic Seth MacFarlane.
And not only that, and I don't want to just kind of lose it, but I laughed. That was probably the hardest I ever laughed at this show when they were playing, and Ed's character is just walking into the wall and just doing that typical thing. He's like, "What do I do?" And Gordon goes, "You got to back it up." Just like that. You got to back it up. Well, how do I back it up?
It's delightful. It's exactly what playing with your less skilled friend is like in general.
Yeah.
And I think it's really funny that they're playing video games too, but it's also kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so his delivery of "Oh my God" when he gets murdered is in that character is so funny to me. And then when they're at the horror of I feel really vindicated as I too am aging.
Right.
Being in that nightclub that Kelly brings them to would be. I never went to nightclubs, to be fair.
Right.
But I would commit murder. It would just not be great. Not trying to implicate myself there, but the what? Oh, the what? I want to blow my brains out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. It's so good.
So a little different background. I have a love affair with nightclubs. Absolutely. I bartended my way all the way through college, grad school, flight instructing. Started bartending at 19. Probably, slid my last drink down the bar when I was 30 something, about 30. I'm still going and just doing some guest appearances and filling in now and then for friends. So when you walk into a place, man, and you feel that wall of heat and the bass, I absolutely love it. Love it.
No.
Now, I love it as an insider, as somebody who works at the club.
I think that would make me hate it even more.
Oh, no, it makes it so much better.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like I have gone to like a hipster dance party kind of thing. It's like where we're just a little bit cooler than a regular club. No one's wearing like skanky clothes, which I'm all for. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a different
Don't skank
vibe.
shame.
I'm not skank shaming. I'm just trying to paint a picture. and I've resigned. Like, we're going to get sweaty. We're dancing. Here we go.
Right.
You know, there's a resignation that has to happen. But as I get older, it is harder to get to that place for me.
Yeah. And there are times where I flat out just didn't want to be there and felt like Ed and Gordon on the couch. No doubt about it. Now, if you're working, and I did work security a little bit as well, or if you're bartending, you're kind of not in that sort of passive mode where you're just being kind of bombarded and overwhelmed with, you know, music and conversation and sights and sounds and things like that. That just kind of makes some people kind of, you know, retract into their shell. So different dynamic, but as one who worked in nightclubs, ton of fun. If I had a chance to go back,
wow,
nightclub.
That is so surprising, and I love that. It does make me beg the question, though. Like, Ed remembers so much about past Kelly. Did she never take Ed to that?
Well, I got the idea that he was just more willing to go, because that whole, I think, early scene of, you know, they'd go out and, you know, no, I'm good. No, he'll have another one. And then, you know, he's the one who ends up throwing up. Like, I think he knew she was a party animal. I think he was probably just more able to keep up with her then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a bad influence, but it is pretty cute. I got so many feelings about him dating younger Kelly, past Kelly, that I can't wait to get to.
Yeah, so we can definitely get to that.
I'm not in a rush, because you can even point out the fact that, you know, Yaphet with the pointy dancey was very
I love the pointy dance.
It was so funny.
It was, and Bordas and Clyden with their dance.
There's so much joy in that one episode.
I know, and it looked like, I don't know, you know, to me, when Bordas said it is reminiscent of a popular mating song on Mockless, I'm thinking, man, there might be another egg. There just might be another egg coming.
You know, sometimes that's... My mother told me this. People can work anything out when there's attraction there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all true or if it should be true, but the dancing definitely brought them back to an older version of themselves, too, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's a good thing the Orville had those extendable fire hydrant type devices that allowed them to spray all of their water out into space and let it freeze on the hull of their ship. That was that's some good foresight.
That.
Yeah, that's some solid design work right there.
Yeah, because it was. I guess you could imagine that there might be some exhausts throughout the place, right? Like, or you know, like.
Well, just you might have to eject something. Maybe you got to eject smoke. Maybe you have to eject, toxic gas, and they just opted to put their water into that. So,
okay,
yeah,
all right. You're a little judgmental, Mike.
Yeah, but I'm coming around now. Okay. I'm able to explain that away. But that was a spooky scene. Like once they got into the rings, the ice rings, and froze the water and the Kalon, those two Kalon sort of breakaway ships, those little spheres, went looking for him in the ice. That was a spooky scene, I thought.
This episode,
very well done.
This episode did a very good job of planting seeds for not only the way we're going to experience the story in this episode, but also how we're going to experience the story in the next episode.
Yeah.
Including the information about the Kalons. This was really well done, succinct, clear writing, which I didn't clock at first that it was a shortened title sequence, but it makes sense because it had so much.
Yeah, so very, very short, and then they rolled the names of the actors during Act 1.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, they bought themselves 30 seconds that they got to use in the story. So.
Yep, so a little bit shorter there. And I already know that this episode is going to generate a lot of discussion about time travel logic. Yeah. And I, like Captain Mercer, would rather chew broken glass. Rather chew broken glass than...
I wish I didn't hate it.
Than have that conversation.
I don't hate it. It's just... I just notice it.
Oh, I like it. And then I loved Isaac's vulnerability with Dr. Finn when she asks, "Are you sure this will work?" And he goes, "Not at all, Doctor."
You're about to ask a question which I think needs to have one more question.
Okay.
One more couple.
So you want me to ask first, and then we'll go from there.
Yes.
Okay, so last thing before we move on to the other side, of course, at your, with your blessing, is what's the creepier relationship, Gordon and Laura, or Ed and past Kelly?
Or Dr. Finn and Isaac. Now, like, will there be a future creepy? Maybe it's not creepy.
Yeah.
But we hadn't seen them together in the same room since the fallout.
Honestly, we haven't seen much of Isaac since then. And you know who else we haven't seen?
To cool on him.
Yeah, we haven't seen any Ensign Turco. We haven't seen any. We haven't seen any Lieutenant Dan.
Well, Seth obviously stopped sleeping with her, and
yeah,
they didn't want to put the prosthetics on Lieutenant Dan if they're going to put it on Will Sasso. It's all budget. You don't understand.
Yeah. But Lieutenant Dan, I think he's been gone for several episodes. So I think you're right because the amount of screen time and lines, I'll say, that Ensign Turco got definitely did peak at a certain point where you hypothesized that maybe there was some behind
She's just too beautiful to ignore. That's all. And then you were the one who couldn't ignore that she was brought back. I didn't even clock that.
Oh, yeah, she was. I really was looking forward to her story arc. I thought she'd be like a bridge officer by now.
Story arc. She's no.
What? She handed out the cupcakes.
She's no story arc person, but doesn't mean she's a bad actor. I'm just saying she was not going to be given anything.
But I would put Isaac and Claire third on the creepiness.
I'm going to put Ed and Pat Kelly first.
Yeah, they definitely win. I want to leave the other two because I really like Gordon and Laura. And the reason I like him is because the analogy I draw is that if you start dating somebody and your friends don't like them, right? Maybe it's, I don't like her. I think she's mean. I don't like her. I don't think she's right for you. Like, your friends don't like her, but it doesn't matter because you fell in love with her. And then you've got to kind of learn for yourself that it's not going to work out. That's the analogy that I draw with with Gordon and Laura in Lasting Impressions. This one, man, I tell you what, I guess we can cover this part now because it's not too serious, is that for me, Ed dating past Kelly was kind of like when it doesn't work out with your girlfriend and you try to date her little sister. Like that was like the creepiness level of this for me.
I mean, totally.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a comment that someone on our Facebook left us about the Gordon and Laura episode where they were having a hard time understanding how he could have let himself fall in love with something that he clearly knows isn't real. And I did respond to it. I don't know if they saw it, though, the person that initially... I think they brought up... It was a good question that they brought up, but I want to see if I can find it really quickly, because my romantic heart's like, oh, come on, he loves her. That's okay. But I can see... I just want to see if I can succinctly remember how I tried to sell this person on it. Oh, okay. Hold on. 7 comments. I guess I wanted to get them right. Dave Taylor says, I know this is a really liked episode, but I struggle with it. There are parts I really like, yet how is this different than the myriad of holodeck episodes where the crew fall in love with people that aren't real? Sure, she did exist at some point in the past, but I find lots of parallels with Geordi falling in love with Dr. Brahms, which is interesting. So I remember
this. I responded to him as well.
You did too. So I said, because I think he goes on later to clarify it's the falling in love with something fake thing that's hard for him. And I said I think it's immersive and that's confusing. Like when you're in a situation and it's immersive, you can you can fake yourself out. And B, people fall in love all the time with actors' characters that they've never met or characters that they play. And C, people can fall in love with other people they've never met or on the other side of the country or world. And our imagination fills in the blank. So I think at the same time, I think Dave's totally right. And I'll add this one extra bit. I think it was more that Gordon was ready to fall in love.
Right.
And so he wanted to, and he found, and if anything, it helped him to realize what he is worth and what he's deserving of. Mm-hmm. So let's go on and talk about awkward relationships in the next segment.
All righty, we'll see you on the other side. So we've come to the part of the show where we explore the big ideas in the episode tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and discuss the meanings, morals, and messages to see if they align with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy. So, all you have to say is that you want to try again with me, and I won't even consider this. That's what Ed said to Kelly. All you have to say is that you want to try again with me, and I won't even consider this. That rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, it should.
Right away. It should have been like, all you have to tell me is you're not comfortable with this, and I won't do it. But it was kind of like this ultimatum, like either you get with me, or I'm getting with past Kelly. But one way or the other, I'm moving on, and I don't think it. I thought it was kind of a creepy-ish, almost ultimatum that he put on her.
It 100% felt like an ultimatum, and it felt unfair, and it kind of put her in a corner. However, like the one little thing I can see him not be, he's again, the phrasing is all wrong, but obviously written in a certain way because he's not thinking very well.
Right.
She doesn't really have control over him. So even if she said, I feel uncomfortable, true love is letting someone you love do the things that they think that they need to do. And
I think Kelly realized that right away because she was like, look, I can't try again with you. We've talked about this a number of times. It's a captain first officer thing right now. I think maybe if they were, not serving on the same ship, things would be different. But Kelly stuck to her ground on that. And she also said, but I also can't tell you that you can't date her. I will tell you that I want you to be careful because I think you're going to find that, I was different 7 years ago and I don't want you to get hurt again and things like that. I wish the line was something more like, Kelly, present Kelly, I also care about you and I don't want to hurt you and I don't want to put you in a position where you're uncomfortable. So
I'd like to try this.
Yeah, I would like to try this, but not without your blessing. Something like that. Because it seemed kind of, I don't know, ultimatum-y.
It's odd because by wanting to go on this date with past Kelly, he really is saying he's still in love with Kelly. And I know he's already said as much, too.
And what we learned throughout this episode over and over again was that Ed feels really bad about what happened. He feels bad about working too hard, about neglecting her, about not being there for her, about, sort of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, maybe chasing her into the arms of another man. With his action or with his inaction, and he wants nothing more than to go back and make it right. He said that several times during the episode, which is really full circle from where we were in Old Wounds, where he was kind of blaming everybody else, where he was blaming Kelly, for the failure of their relationship at that point. Right. And now he's taken responsibility, and that is
point.
I think a lot of character growth. Thank you.
Yeah, we just see them getting along so well that I hadn't realized that, he is maturing in that way. I love the inherent challenge of these two characters that we really would enjoy seeing them together based off of just how well they're written. They have a natural stopgap that keeps that heart. So it that struggle, and we want to believe that anything is surmountable for love. We do want to believe that, and it is interesting to jump the topic, but not really, because we can go back. But I love what Kelly says with, and you recapped this so beautifully. A soulmate is not something that you find, or they are. It's you building it together.
Yes,
and in a way, Kelly and Ed are building their soulmate ship right now.
Probably more so friends now than when they were married.
Yeah. Or, the foundation is there. Mm-hmm. Again, they're always going to be attracted to each other. I think that's probably going to be true. I really give Kelly a lot of credit to adhere to a boundary that she doesn't even really want to. She wishes she didn't have to adhere to. And it's got to be doubly hard when Ed's making that so hard.
Yeah, so you think she would get back together if conditions were... She'd be willing to give it a shot if conditions were different?
When you see... Well, here's the thing.
Circumstances.
This is what's confusing. And this is where Adrian Pilecki's acting really comes into play in a great way. When younger Kelly, or past Kelly, says, are you over it? Or is it over? It's over. You see her take this moment and go... yeah, like she decides it's over,
Yeah.
and that is, I think it's a very bittersweet moment where she had to tell herself that it's over because, first of all, you want to hope for the future, but she's not living in the future, which I think is interesting because we don't talk about present Kelly's future at all.
Right.
She's doing her best to live in the present, and it's over in the present. So I think her thinking as far ahead as if and when we are not captain or first officer, maybe. I don't think she's even entertained. Her mind may go there. She can't allow herself to entertain it.
Right.
Her boundary is her respect level for herself and for Ed, and it's the real maturity that she shows.
It really is. It's a maturity that she's earned, honestly, over the last 7 years.
Great point.
And I loved her. And this was interesting, too, really to build upon what you just said. Kelly was sitting with Claire having a conversation. And that was one of those conversations like basically every episode of the Orville contains, which sort of really, really kind of boils down the point of the episode. And Kelly says marriage changes. It evolves. It goes through phases. There's times when you feel like you don't love the other person anymore and you will never love them again. And then one day you do. And that was a beautiful sentiment that I think, all married people, and by all married people, I mean me, probably need to hear from time and time again, is that those things
if not have experienced it. Right?
Yeah, do ebb and flow. It's just kind of like pathways that don't necessarily parallel or piggyback the whole time. They kind of cross back and forth over each other, and they're intertwined. And sometimes they're in sync, and sometimes they're not. But they're always going to come back to each other as long as you keep trying.
I can't relate. I haven't been in a relationship long enough.
Oh, God love you.
I've been in a lot of relationships, but to withstand or have to withstand that falling out of love. And one of the things that frustrates me to some extent about the dating world out here in La La Land is, at least this is how I view it, is I don't need to work on this relationship if this isn't a perfect fit, even though all the elements are there, because I can go swipe on my phone and find someone new.
Absolutely.
And I can make that one work, or that can feel better, or this thing just got tough and I don't want to work through that. And I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think that could be bitter Jessica feeling that way. And also some people just aren't ready to make that commitment every day, day in and day out, to love that person. I was talking about it on my other podcast today with Nick. You make a decision. What love is a verb, or a muscle, where if you unconditionally love somebody, which I do believe Ed and Kelly unconditionally love each other, which is really hard when you're not blood, right? But you bring love into every situation so that you make the best choice possible for the person that you love. It's not easy. And that may even include in a marriage to let that person go, right? That's not an easy choice either. And one person may still be fully in love. But love is really hard. And sometimes people, as opposed to work at it, choose the easier route. And I don't blame them because it sucks sometimes. But I think Ed's being an idiot in this episode. I really do.
I think he's... Honestly, I'm going to let him off the hook a little bit because I gave my opinion on sort of how creepy I thought the relationship and how sort of tone deaf he was when he was talking to Kelly about it. On the other hand, I think he's somewhat desperate to
connect,
go back and do it the right way. That he realizes that he didn't treat her the way he should have. That he put his career first and did push her away, and would love to go back and undo that. So I'll cut him some slack with that But it's tough. And honest to goodness, I mean, if when I was dating, if things got tough, I was like, man, if it's tough now, it's never going to withstand an engagement or a marriage or the stress of kids and stuff like that. So honestly, I was the first one to say, all right, this is not working out, and it's not going to get any easier. So I think there's definitely a much easier out at that point. At least you don't have to like pull out a tooth and feed it to your ex.
Murder them?
Well, that would be a divorce. So
That's a
yeah,
divorce.
but
That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
Right,
well,
but
and
if you just
like, we don't want to hurt the other person. It's not. Sometimes you want to be spiteful, and if they hurt you, it's a little bit different. Or you're a sociopath. You don't have feelings. And you love exploiting other people's feelings, but.
So you asked me before about how would I handle younger Mike and present day Mike together, and man, Claire summed it up. She goes, the young always dismiss the old. It's their way of pushing away the truth. And you hear things like, well, that was before I was born, or well, you're old, or that's not how things are anymore, or these days they're different, and all these dismissive things. That's so easy. You just kind of like wave your hand and not listen to somebody who's trying to give you good advice for your benefit. And people don't want to listen. Why? Because they're trying to push away the truth.
And that is true. That's one aspect of it. But like, as someone who was raised with a really great dad, who wanted to do his best by me, really wanted me to make certain choices. Like when I would come to him with problems, he would pretty much go, well, you could make that choice, but would you want to? And
that's one way to do it, Jessica.
Correct. He kind of really didn't do the thing he wasn't saying. And again, for the best, that was his point. When I got a little bit older, I wanted to do the wrong thing. Yeah. And even today or yesterday, I was talking in therapy about, like, I know 7 things I shouldn't do with this one situation. I know them. But I've convinced myself I can do something differently, which is what Ed has done here. He convinces himself this will be different. This will be different. And young Kelly, past Kelly, has convinced herself I will not do what old Kelly has done. And it's not an outright dismissal, but it's also, so it's like that's one aspect of it. It's like, I also want to spit in the face of what I think I should do, and I'm going to be better or do it differently. And then there's another thing too, where I love thinking about this, and I always get the quote wrong, but when the student is ready, the lesson appears, or something like that, right? So she just might not be ready to learn. It would be great. It would be great if I knew I didn't love unavailable men and could pick them out of a crowd and go, you guys just sit over there. And I even know. But my penchant is towards that. So that's why I talk about the strength of Kelly's boundaries. Her desire probably is to be with Ed.
Yes.
Probably. She loves him. She got him the ship. She wanted to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
But her willpower and her ability to enforce boundaries is incredible, because I know how hard that is to do for myself.
Yeah. And I think that's why we went through the whole exercise of past Kelly
Futility.
being able to come up with an idea that saved the ship, and they got to see each other work, and they got to see they got to bond over that. Basically, they got some mutual respect out of that, and I think that was important, and I loved when present Kelly was lamenting over the fact that, I'm not a captain. Claire goes, yeah, but you were married. And she goes, yeah, but that didn't work out either. And she goes, well, goals change. Things become more beautifully complicated. So we have to stop every so often and reassess. What is it that you really want? And I think that's a question that I don't necessarily ask myself enough. I think when people need goals, want goals, need to have direction in their life, they kind of need to stop pedaling, stop running, stop just doing the frantic day to day and ask themselves, what is it that you really want? Because that's the only way you're going to be able to get it.
I think we can look at our life and go, wow, that one split decision I made, and my life changed just like that, or whatever. Like, we have those. But our life really is comprised of decision, a million in a day. And that is also assessing, too.
Right.
I could, and yes, we can make ourselves feel guilty, like I should have done more work today, or I should know what I want in my life.
But is it short term, or is it long term? Is it today, or is it month, year, 5 years, 10 years?
And how much can I account for? Like, there's so many memes out there. Like, what would you say to your younger self? It's just, Kelly gets the opportunity to say something to her younger self, and her younger self doesn't want to listen. Yeah. And I don't know. See, think about it. In 5 years ago, you wouldn't have known that you were going to do a podcast and meet me. You couldn't have aimed to meet that. And you made a decision and went, you know what? That's something I want to do. I can do it. So I just give yourself a little bit of credit to probably being constantly in an assessing situation.
Right. It should be daily. It should be somewhat constant. But I think we all get caught up in the day to day and end up reassessing kind of on daily, maybe weekly, maybe monthly levels. And I think it's important to think about those, those 3 big goals, like younger Kelly had.
Right.
And think about those for yourself, because without a goal, it's hard to achieve it.
Yes, you're totally right. But it's allowed to change.
It is, and I love that. Stop, reassess. Life changes. Life gets more complicated, and things are ever changing. And I think that's a really neat way to kind of stop and look at this episode and think about it kind of from a Roddenberry Star Trek point of view.
So what did come up for you with?
Well, I think it's a good second chance episode. You get to kind of look at your life and accept responsibility for your shortcomings, and recognizing while, you might not be able to go back and do it all again, you can certainly learn from your actions and move forward. I think that's, an important, message, moral meaning. And that aligns, I think, very well, with what we know and love about Star Trek and the philosophy that they show in that franchise.
Yeah, forgiveness, humans in space, and all that it's a very Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
For me, the message that I would take away from this, or the moral that I would take away with this, and I know this to be true, and it's so easy to forget it, especially when you're in the middle of not feeling great. It all does work out. And then you die. So it doesn't matter anyway.
Nobody gets out alive.
No one gets out alive. But it all works out mostly because you make it work out.
Right.
So, Kelly did absolutely the best she could with a set of circumstances that she wasn't fully responsible for.
Yeah, I think it's true. I liked Ed's line where he said, many times human beings have wished they could go back in time and change the past. Well, this is a real life opportunity. Real life opportunities don't really come up like that to go back and change the past, but similar situations do arise, and you can apply the lessons that you learned from the past in these new situations to not make the same mistakes again. And I think that was a good lesson. I love this line, you don't find soulmates, you become soulmates by growing together. That really is, I think that is the difference between somebody who's been in a relationship and has seen those ups and downs, and somebody who is kind of still, like past Kelly put it, trying to find their soulmate. Just two very different philosophies there. And this really goes, I have this note down here. I kind of wish I brought it up when we were talking about Ed and Kelly before. But before Claire did the memory wipe on past Kelly, Ed looks at her and said, I apologize. And past Kelly said, for what? And he said, for the next 5 years, for the absence, for the neglect, for all of it. He looked right at present Kelly and said, I wish I could undo it all. And that to me was just a beautiful sentiment that really showed how far he's come and that he's taking responsibility for the problems they had in their marriage, and not just blaming Kelly like he was at the beginning of the series.
To your credit, you did bring that up. So here I am as your better half in this podcast to remind you that you didn't forget that.
Okay. I didn't know if I mentioned the look. The look was really important.
The look, I see. Then now you're being more clear. I understand.
Right.
The look was... Listen, there's so many repercussions from this episode, and I'm so excited to talk about it in next week's Our episode.
Yeah, and we didn't even really touch on the fact that apparently the memory wipe didn't work.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which I don't think there'll be any problems. One quick thing, a little bit of trivia on this episode. It was originally a single episode where the memory wipe worked and everything kind of went back to normal. And then there was a little bit of chatter in the writer's room about, wait, what if it didn't work? And then things changed, and then it kind of got fleshed out into this, into the next episode, which we will talk about next week. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and bring us home.
Let's do it.
All right. Mission Log, The Orville, is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production by the astonishing Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is podcasts.roddenberry.com.
Join us next time on Mission Log, The Orville, as we discuss the road not taken. This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.